Good morning, my friends. It's 9:45 in the AM on a Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for Java with Jen, Java with Jen, Java with Jen, Java with Jen. It's time for Java with Jen, Java with Jen. That's me. I'm Jen Coken. We haven't met before. I'm your favorite executive leadership coach and your favorite woman who comes to you at 9:45 in the morning to talk about all things leadership or related to leadership or things that are top of mind, things that make me go, things I have been coaching my clients on for the last 20 years, questions people ask me, things I've been pondering other than the lint in my navel. I once had a mug that said, "This may be whiskey." I should have one that says, "This might be tequila." It is coffee. You can tell. Iced coffee. Day old. Is that gross? I don't know. Anywho, thanks for joining me today. It's good to see you. I was off for a couple weeks with a little birthday extravaganza. I turned the big 6-0. Love it. Hold on, getting something to show you. It's backwards. Aged to perfection. That's me. Like a big old bottle of tequila. No, not tequila. Like a big old bottle of bourbon. Nope, not bourbon. Trying to think of something that's aged to perfection that's not alcohol related for all my sober by choice friends. A cheese? Can I relate myself to a cheese? Anyhow, I might digressing here. So let's get down to brass topics, as the case may be. I wanted to come to you today with a topic that may seem unrelated, but it's really not. I was talking to a friend last week, and this person got some super disturbing medical news and was freaking out about it. But at the same time, was very much like, okay, going to wait till I go to the doctor, get the results, understand what's happening. The diagnosis could have been very extreme or nothing. So they get the information from the doctor, and it's not the extreme stuff, but it's still so uncertain. And uncertainty sucks, right? If you are uncertain in a relationship, uncertain whether your team appreciates you or whether your boss appreciates you, not appreciates, but if you're uncertain whether you're doing the right things. Maybe you've been in your job a long time and you've been doing the right stuff, and every performance review, people are like, keep it up, but you don't find yourself pushing yourself or learning or growing. You may have some uncertainty where you are about your ability to grow or your ability to lead. In this case, the worst kind of uncertainty where we have a health diagnosis, not something many of us think about until we do, right? Can I get a yeah, boy? Yeah, girl? Yeah, woman? So the interesting part was in the beginning, we had a conversation, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, that I came up with when I was taking care of my mom when she had ovarian cancer. And then I applied it to myself when I was dealing with breast cancer. And then I shared it with this friend because of what they were dealing with. And the interesting part was when it was like, oh my God, could be this horrible news, they were already on this path. And see how I'm like seeding it? You want to know, don't you? Am I making you want to know? I hope so. They were already on this path, the three keys that I'm going to share with you. But then when the bad news was ruled out and there was still this uncertainty, all of a sudden they spiraled into, my God, my life's over. Now, that's a whole other Java with Jen, a whole other conversation. But here's the three keys that we spoke about. And I used to call this my caregiver's blueprint, but I think it could be, and then it was my cancer patient's blueprint. I think it can be applied to leadership as well. Really important. Here's the three things. Stick with the facts, say everything, empower the people around you. So let's back that up a second. Stick with the facts. Whether it's cancer or some other medical diagnosis, whether it is finding out a situation or problem at work, whether it is doing a presentation and being uncertain whether it was well received, whether if you're an entrepreneur and sales call didn't turn out the way you wanted to, you got to always stick with the facts. What do I mean? When it came to my cancer diagnosis, I said, I'm only going to deal with what's right in front of me. I'm only going to deal with what I know currently. And there was a lot that I knew and a lot that I didn't. I'm fine now, by the way. For people that don't know, I dealt with breast cancer during COVID. Thanks. I did. And I had 2 lumpectomies, 21 rounds of radiation, the final one December 31st, 2020. So I kicked 2020 out the window. Um, in the beginning, we didn't know how bad it was. We didn't know what kind of treatment I needed. I didn't know if I was going to need chemo. As a coach, and specifically, mostly, I coach people one on one. I have a group program. I speak, but my brain is my biggest asset. I don't produce widgets. This is what any widgets I produce, or whatever I'm being curious about, or whatever I'm saying to my clients, or whatever questions I'm asking. And that's key for me when I'm coaching people, is asking good questions and really listening and kind of separating myself from what's being said to ask good questions. And I often get people saying, that's a really good question. I try. I really do. I really try. So the idea of chemo brain was like, oh no, how am I going to make a living? I'm my sole breadwinner. How's that going to work out? So, and I at times would spiral out of control, right? The doom and gloom. And this applies to leadership too. Somebody looks at you funny, somebody says something. Um, you can't figure out why you're not getting the results from your team meetings that you want to get when you've been so specific about what you need. You're not getting the promotion you wanted. You feel like you're being passed over for certain leadership opportunities. You got to stick with the facts. So, how does this apply to leadership? Let's just say your performance reviews have been great, but still you're not getting some of those leadership opportunities. And you start thinking about another job. Who wouldn't? You start wondering what you did wrong. You start replaying every freaking thing over in your head, everything that has gone on, to try to figure out, what did I do wrong? Okay, don't do that. That's like so easy for me to say, but literally that's just your brain braining. That's just your brain having thoughts. Average 60,000 thoughts a day. Average 85% of your thoughts are negative. Average 95% are repetitive. So let's back it up a minute. You want to just sit down and stick with the facts. Look at your last performance review. Look at how you presented the information in a meeting. Look at or evaluate the number of team meetings that you go to without an agenda. This, by the way, is something I talk with my clients about all the time. Do not say yes to meetings that your team has not given you an agenda for. Better than that, they give you the agenda 2 days before, so you can be thoughtful and have good ideas to bring to the table, or good questions to ask. Presenting anybody with an agenda last minute, that meeting ought to be canceled, in my opinion. I would cancel the meeting. I would opt out. But Jen, isn't that rude? We're an agile team. We're supposed to be moving quickly. Okay, I'm sorry. But even if you're, working within agile or whatever entrepreneurial operating system, whatever you're working inside of, if somebody doesn't have enough respect for you to give you an agenda beforehand and is just throwing meetings on your calendar, that business has to stop. So stick with the facts. Separate fact from fiction. Okay. If you've got a bunch of stories in your head about I'm just looking at the time because I like to keep these short. This might be a little longer because I seem to be taking us to Paris a few times, but stick with the facts. Separate fact from fiction. Again, you have a story in your head about something, someone, some situation, right? You write out all of it. Just write it out. Do a brain dump. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Oh my God, this happened and this happened. Why isn't this happening? This sucks. That sucks. The other thing sucks. Da 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 da. You write it all out. Take a deep breath and go back and circle just the facts. Circle the facts. You will find few. You will find 2. You will find 3 at best. This one tactic, this one tool that I give to my clients is probably one of the most powerful tools that they use on a day-to-day basis, because it can be applied to business. It can be applied to your personal life. Always and only stick with the facts. Easier said than done. This is not like a one and done. Oh yeah, that'll be really easy and I'll know what the facts are. Look, anything I'm talking to you about, by the way, I still deal with, struggle with, and have to tackle on a day-to-day basis. It's just different situations for me than it might be for you, or that it might be for the other person. Does that make sense? So always stick with the facts. Number 2, I'm going to go to cancer and then leadership. Number 2, say everything. That's right. Well, I can't say that. Yeah, you can. You want to say it in a way that's kind, but you want to say everything. So, for example, when my mom was dealing with ovarian cancer, she was ovarian cancer sucks. You're mostly diagnosed stage 4. If you haven't gotten my book, When I Die, Take My Panties, go over to Amazon, get it. It's got a lot of educational pieces in there about what to look for about ovarian cancer. It's also kind of my life story in relationship to my mom. It's about mothers and daughters and our relationships and how we can find the best in things. And if you get that book, again, When I Die, Take My Panties, you'll know more about how I think and how I approach coaching too, because I don't ever give anybody anything else I haven't dealt with myself, been through myself, or am practicing myself. And I'm far from perfect. Okay. So when my mom was at the final stage of ovarian cancer, and by final, I mean when she was diagnosed, she had like an 18% chance of living 5 years. So she was in the fifth year. We had done everything. She had had surgery, had a full on bowel resection. She had been in remission for a bit. She had tried all the drugs. We got her into an experimental trial, and that was that. And she called me to ask for my opinion. And I remember this distinctly because at the time I still colored my hair and I was standing outside the salon waiting for the color to process in like downtown Denver with foils. Women, I'm talking about. Guys, you probably do too, like little foil packets on my head in the drapey sheety thing. And she said, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to go to Boston and I'm going to go to for women, Brigham Women's Hospital. Y'all are probably going to correct me in the comments. That's cool. No problem. And I'm going to talk to this doctor because there's a pill that I could try that has a 10% potential effectiveness rate. And mom, from my perspective, and I don't think she would agree with me, like her first 4 years of dealing with cancer, they sucked. But that woman still tap danced. She went out to dinner with my stepdad. She had a dang full life. But once she had that surgery in February of 2011, ooh, it just seems like things in my perspective, things went downhill from there. And she asked me what I thought, deep breath. And I said, Mom, I don't think you should do it. And we had this agreement to say everything. This was an agreement I made with her. And she said, why? And I said, look, we don't know how much time you have left. And what if instead we got all the kids, all the grandkids, and we just had a really nice, week. We all come to Florida to be with you guys. We used to do this all the time to celebrate birthdays. Why don't we just get the family together? And you're never over it, are you? And we enjoy those last moments. And I had to get a lot of gumption up to say that. And she said, okay, let me think about that. I'll add it to the mix. And then 2 days later, she came back to me and said, I'm going to go for this trial drug, the second trial drug. And I said, my reaction was great. And that leads me to lesson number 3, empower the person's choice. Okay. Say it, stick with the facts, say everything, empower the person's choice. Great, Mom, do that. Now, when it came to me, I would say to people, if the way I want to treat my cancer is by standing on one leg with a tinfoil hat on my balcony eating barbecue, you better ask me whether I have enough ribs. Empower my choices, because whatever choices I'm making are mine and they're good for me. And I've spent the time thinking about that. How does that apply to leadership? Say everything, but say it with kindness. Those hard conversations you're avoiding with the employee that you really need to give feedback to that is difficult? You got to say it. It's for their good. It's for their growth. The boss that is a real stink pot and keeps stealing your ideas and is cutting you out of things, you've got to go to your skip level manager and have that hard conversation. Because what you've got to look at is how do I empower me, and what you've got to, I don't like using that strong language. What I'm inviting you to look at, how do I empower myself by saying everything, going to my skip level manager to have a conversation about my boss because I'm not getting what I need as an employee to be successful at my job. How do I empower my employees? That means having that tough conversation to give them the feedback about what skills need to be developed and what part of executive presence they are missing. Even as an individual contributor, everybody can have executive presence because we're growing into our leadership, right? So that's incredibly, incredibly important. Say everything. Have the hard conversations. Just don't be mean when you say it. How do you start? You stick with the facts. You sit down and write down what you would want to say, how you would want to say it, how you'd want to provide that feedback, what you would say to your skip level manager without being a gossip or ratting out your boss. What's missing for you as the employee when your boss isn't giving you what you want? What's missing for you as a boss when your employee isn't giving you what you want? I think I said that right. Write everything out you're upset about, circle the facts. The other thing that that's doing is it's bringing down the amygdala hijack and allowing your prefrontal cortex to be logical and really see what strategies are going to make a difference. What do you want to say that's going to make a difference? And say it in a way the person can hear it, and set aside time to do it. Don't just grab them in the hallway because they might not be in a space to hear what you have to say. So my 3 tips for you as a leader that I learned when dealing with my mom's cancer and dealing with my own that can be applied to leadership each and every day. Stick with the facts, say everything, and empower yourself and the people around you. That's Java with Jen today. Hope you got a lot out of it. I'd love to know in the comments below what made a difference for you. What questions do you have? And yeah, let me know if there's anything else you want me to address on Java with Jen. If you got questions, I may have an answer, or I just may have another really good question for you. This is it for Java with Jen. Java with Jen. Java with Jen. Java with Jen. Yeah. All right, friends. I'll see you again next week.